So Perpetua, I think there are lots of people that are good at pitching, and there are some people, sometimes when they appear in films, who are utterly convincing all the time, and they're able to influence their partners, they're able to influence the people they work with, but eventually there's a big downfall, and they come tumbling down. Tell me, have you come across anyone that's like that, that's just utterly convincing to everybody?
Actually, I have come across quite a few people like that, and again, with regards to people with dark triad personality types, that's exactly the kind of people. They tend to be very charming, very persuasive. They know how to get under your skin. So these people, you know, like often, I don't know whether you've heard of Brené Brown. She talks about the power of vulnerability.
Brené Brown.
Yeah, she talks about the power of vulnerability, being raw, and that's connecting with people in that way. And vulnerability is a really great asset for people to understand each other. But there's this dark triad personality types who take it a step further. So they get you to tell information about yourself. They get to probe your deepest, darkest secrets in a very charming, I care about you manner. And when they've got this weapons in the arsenal, they use it against you. So these people actually probe and understand what makes you tick, what makes you sad, what makes you feel insecure, and leverage these insecurities to pitch to you that they are what you need. So whether in a business sense or personal sense, they can be very persuasive.
So they turn from being somebody that's a friend into a foe really quickly.
Absolutely.
And because they understand you, they know the things that will annoy you and upset you, and then they deliberately deploy that knowledge to control you, I assume.
Yes.
Okay. And what's the best way of dealing with these people? Are they psychopaths? Would you describe them as psychopaths?
They could, most of them would be psychopathic. So, you know, to be a psychopath, it has to pervade every single area of your functioning. So your personal relationships, your career, your love life, everything else.
So let's call them nearly psychopaths or psychopaths.
Okay, let's call them psychopaths.
Let's call them psychopaths. How do you then control someone that's like a psychopath?
You don't control them.
Okay.
Because they spend their whole life perfecting the art. You know, imagine you run into a 40-year-old psychopath. This person has had, let's say since 5 years old, 35 years of expertise in being Rasputin. In treating people as puppets. So there's no way you are going to be able to win them. And do you really need to win a psychopath?
I don't know. I mean, how do I defeat them?
How do you defeat
them? What do I do? Do I just let them play with me, or what do I do?
You just got to make sure you don't tell them too many things. And before then, something that I'm really passionate about is actually educating people on what a psychopath is and what are the red flags.
Okay.
So when you recognize the red flags early, that's when you know when to walk away.
Because in pitching, I know a lot of people that work in teams will come across psychopaths. Somebody or someone that's nearly a psychopath. They are hugely influential and they're quite successful, but they're also very damaging within an organisation.
Scorched earth policy, basically.
Scorched earth policy. What then are just give me an illustration of a couple of the red flags to be able to identify that person you're working with as a potential nutter.
Manipulation.
Okay.
So this person can be extremely manipulative and charming at the same time. So they play people against each other. So essentially, if you've got a team that tends to be quite close to each other, and you see that small little fractures here and there, you might have to speak to them and figure out what's going on. And it could be this psychopath has been feeding different stories to play a person against another. Or another form of manipulation would be when they take credit for everything you do, and there's no sense of remorse. So that's how you figure out that this person may not be very healthy for this group or this organization or this pitch, because eventually they're going to take the glory for themselves. Another thing would be if you can always do a background check. So we're not talking about hiring a private eye and doing a comprehensive check. We're talking about if there's any mutual friends that you know, ask what's going on, because often they will have lattice trail of destruction. So for instance, in romance, I know this person who, if you speak to their friends, you find out about this thing when he said, I mean, one of their friends said that, he once when this girl dumped him, he wooed her back again so that he could dump her.
Right, okay.
And hurt her. So basically, if your mutual friends know that this person has this history, you kind of know that this is somebody to be wary of.
Okay.
And they leave a trail of destruction. So we're not just talking about romance, we're talking about, say, in a previous job, in a previous team. That's how you find out.
So no remorse, manipulative, and a trail of destruction, a history of being damaging to other people. They're the three things to look out for psychopaths. Okay. Perpetua, I do a lot of pitching and I do a lot of public speaking, but I still get nervous before I do it. I get nervous particularly when I'm pitching into an entirely new sector or it's a really important pitch. I do feel the nerves. So even though I pitch all the time and I practice 2 or 3 times a week, let alone pitching that much, I still get nerves. Now I know for other people, they talk about nerves and they feel like there's a rash that comes up them. They feel like everyone's looking at them. They become slightly paranoid. They forget things and they come off after a pitch saying, oh, I forgot all of these things to say. And I'd look at them and I'd say, but you did well. How on earth can you think that you did so badly? And these people suffer from a terrifying level of nerves. Sometimes a nerve stops them from pitching altogether.
Absolutely.
I am now in the chair. I have a problem with nerves. Talk to me, Perpetua. How on earth am I going to get over my nerves?
So tell me, what's it like when you go up to a new person in any social situation? It could be a party, it could be networking. How do you feel?
I feel like they probably don't want to talk to me and maybe they judge me, but I always try and make an effort.
And after you make the effort, how do they respond to you?
They normally respond positively back to me.
And how does it make you feel after that?
I feel better, but at the time, I feel better 10, 20 minutes later, but at the time I just feel nervous.
And after the whole event is over, after that whole interaction is over, do you run it through your head and judge yourself for that?
Yes, so perhaps the next day or on the way home, I'll think about it and I'll say that was a lot better than I felt before, but I can't but help feel those nerves and anxiety before the event and at the event when I'm meeting people.
So one really important thing is that for you, you don't get obsessed with your performance after the event, even though you've done well, because there's a subset of people who do, no matter how well they perform, they go, it was shit, it was terrible, and it preoccupies them for the next few weeks.
Okay.
And it pervades the sleep. So it's a really great thing that you don't. So before your next interaction, a really important thing would be for you to tap into that feeling of satisfaction after you had a great interaction with somebody else. And always ask yourself, why am I condemning myself to the worst possible outcome?
Okay.
Where does it come from?
Okay. And so I would feel better if after an interaction, I try and think about how positive I feel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I focus on that before I meet people.
Yes. So let's give you an example on how to make it real. Okay, so that feeling of accomplishment, of satisfaction after you had a really great interaction with somebody. Where do you feel it in your body?
I feel warm around here.
Warm around here.
My chest.
If you were to give it a colour, what colour would that be?
Blue? No, blue's cold.
Oh, blue
orange.
would be a lovely colour.
Orange.
Orange. Okay, what kind of orange is that? What does it remind you of?
A fruit. The orange fruit.
Orange fruit, very abundant, very prosperous. Love that. Okay, so before your next interaction, connect to this orange fruit here.
Okay.
Yeah, because you've got this totem that anchors you there. So every time your brain goes, but the next time it's going to be awful, and your mafia mind tries to drive you nuts. Instead of shutting it away, like most of us do, and getting really upset, trying to be rational about it, because human beings are not rational, right? Instead, you just go, I hear you. You are my muscle that is so big, and you keep telling me all these horrible things about myself, and I hear you. But I'm going to focus on this gorgeous orange feeling.
So acknowledge the fear, but think about the positives by relating it to an object, a feeling, and bring that back to me. So before I go in translating that to a formal pitch situation, I can feel the anxiety building up, I recognize it, I acknowledge it, and then I think about that colour, the fruit, and that feeling that I had after the event.
Yes, into that, because that's something visceral, because all these memories are stored in our body, in our cells. You can't just talk painful memories or happy memories away or into you. So you got to find a way of tapping into this feeling that exists in your body. And another thing would be, often people believe that if I am fearful, there's something wrong with me. But fear is just evolutionary. So I often explain why we have fear. Fear teaches us to run away, to, all this adrenaline surges through our body to charge us up, to fight or run away.
So the anxiety, that adrenaline is completely natural.
Absolutely.
And it can be channeled positively or negatively.
Yeah.
And I've got to see the anxiety, recognize it, acknowledge it, and then make sure it works towards me.
Yes.
But I consciously do something about that.
Absolutely.
So before I go into a pitch, into a room full of people to whom I'm pitching, I would concentrate, in my case, on orange.
Yes.
On an orange.
Orange feeling that's really unique to you.
Okay.
Because you don't want your brain to sabotage yourself and tell you all these things about you're so bad, you're never going to do well. You want to concentrate on your victories, because that's the only way in which you're going to develop competence. So the slogan that I will tell my clients is something I made up. It's called doing is believing.
Okay.
The more you do it, the better you're going to get.
Even if you do and you do badly?
And that's okay, it's just feedback.
Okay.
Because some days you're just going to feel not so good about yourself because the day just was crappy. Sometimes, for instance, people die in your life and you're not going to be at your optimum performance. You got to let yourself have space to be a human being.
So anybody can get over that level of anxiety?
Yes.
And everybody can pitch?
Yes.
Okay. Do you personally have any anxiety or fears when it comes to pitching or anything like that, talking in front of lots of people?
I used to have quite a few fears, just talking to new people. I would consider myself as somebody with social anxiety when I was younger, just that I never knew it had a name.
Okay.
And then people started saying, "Oh, but you look so confident." I was just like, that's complete bullshit. As I grew older, I started to realize that, I can get over this. I can learn the right skills and I can trust myself. I can just be brave about it.
Okay.
And so, I think pitching is something that we do, whether we are in a business setting, in a formal setting, or even meeting new people.
Yep.
You're pitching yourself.
You
right?
are, yep.
So you've got to take the whole stress away. If somebody doesn't like you, it's okay. Sometimes people just don't fit with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to think less about rejection and making it personal. And maybe this person just isn't right for me. And what can I learn from this? How can I have fun doing this?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Thank you.
Smell elevation, sniff elevation.